This is the main whiteboard, always on top left. I have a date of practice, time of practice, and some pre-practice activities. Our team either lift weights before that or they don't. But for sure, as soon as they come in, um, we go right away and try to get some extra reps before we even get going with an official part of practice. Some of them are still getting tape. Some of them are still doing maybe a little bit of a treatment. But um, when you come up, you're not just standing around. Some of them, they're going to go warm up their arm a little bit, quick arm. You can also call it pepper. Um, then on courts, because there are 3 courts in our gym available at all times. On court 1 and 2, it says junk from the middle blocker. That means, middle blockers are getting better and better at throwing balls down offensively. It's not all about just spiking the ball or hitting the ball now. They can throw the ball down. So, that was from last, October. Um, and we were not really good at picking that up. So we're going to put in some extra work defending that. And then on court 3, we're working on our entries plus transition footwork patterns. We want to be really clean and very fundamentally sound when it comes to our footwork patterns, both first ball and transition. With that, when you can create those consistencies, then you can go and complain to the setter, that setter set is not good. But until you're not consistent with your entry, with your footwork, your approach, your timing, then it's really hard to complain to the setter. Boxes in green with numbers 1, 2, 1, 2, or 3. Those are courts number of court. So we have court 1, 2, and 3. So our athletes know exactly where to go. On top of that, you can see small abbreviations: JG, Jeremiah Gunidakis, MW, Mitch Worthington, Luka, LS. Those are coaches assigned to certain court. So coaches are waiting. Ladies come up. Hey, let's go extra reps. Then you can see, we have these concepts on the left side of the whiteboard, and those concepts are there for good, for the semester or maybe for the whole year.
Yeah.
And the concepts are, none of us is good enough yet. Always emphasis on yet. And we're okay if we screw it up, if we make mistakes. But the question is, what are we doing about it? Also, we've noticed that generation of players that we're dealing with right now, feedback, it's a very sensitive topic, how they receive feedback. So it's really important how we give feedback as teachers and how they perceive that feedback as learners. So the bottom line is, grass is green and sky is blue, and we're not really good in serving, for an example, or we're not really good offensively, and that's fact. So let's not get rattled about it. Let's not get touchy and sensitive about it. Let's go. We give you feedback. You make an adjustment. We talk about it. We try to figure it out, but let's move on. Feedback is not an attack. Feedback is in terms of learning. Consistent feedback is very important in players' development. Consistent doesn't mean every single repetition you give athlete a feedback. Feedback means that even going to practice, athlete know what's her little rock or 2 little rocks that she's going to work on. I know that. We know the cues we're going to use, the language we're going to use with every athlete that resonates the best with her, that she understands what we're trying to achieve. And then what's really important in this process is we demonstrate, then they go try, then we give them a little bit of feedback. They go try again for, 3, 4, 5 repetitions, and we give them a little bit of feedback again. And then we talk after practice, we watch video, we tag each other and discuss, hey, can you see this? Can you that? And that's that cycle of learning and getting better and trying to change habits. Hugely for us, first touch, first contact is everything. First contact in our gym, and I think in a game of volleyball, is we got to be a really good serving team, or we got to be a really good serve receive team, and we got to be able to dig some balls. And ball control, is that right? So first contact, at least for the fall, was one of our objectives. When you are not at your best, when you're maybe not hitting great numbers, when you're not maybe playing, when you're on the bench, how can you elevate your team? So we talk a lot about that it's not about you. As much as we love you and we want the best and the most success for you, we have, I don't know, 16, 17, 18 players on the roster. So not all of you are going to play, at all times. So how can you elevate in other areas on the court or off the court? How can you, yeah, help your teammates? And one thing we talk a lot about, this generation. I know I have a daughter of that age and I have son that it's a little bit younger. And I've been around these women now for a pretty long time. They want to be perfect. And it's like, it's impossible to be perfect, guys. There's going to be great matches and there's going to be amazing practice, but it's chasing that. It's a waste of energy. You start spinning and that's where you guys get overwhelmed and things go south. So, and that's something that Karch was really good at, I would say, drilling into our national team, leading, 4 years leading to Tokyo. And before that, like, just be good over time. Let's not be great, but let's not suck a lot. But let's just be good over time. And there's going to be ebbs and flows in our performance and learning because that's what it is. It's not linear. It's going to be up and down. But just be good over time. Just by being good over time, we're going to win a lot of points. We're going to win a lot of sets. We're going to win a lot of matches. Okay. So, but that's how you got to train that way. And you got to be resilient. You got to have grit. And you just have to have these habits in place where you can be good over time. And that's why the best teams in the world are the best teams in the world, all right? Because they're good over time. They're not like good first 3 matches and they suck for the rest of the season. No, they're good. Most of the time, they're pretty good. So yeah, those are a few concepts. And then we have this little thing going on. What's word of the day? So we learn a little bit on the way. And um, there's like an app where you click and it gives you a new word of the day. And then I ask them, hey, what's omnipotent, what that word means? And they're like, sometimes they know, sometimes they know. And we just learn in 3 seconds, we just learned a new word. So it's just a little activity we do that we did last semester. And then on the top right, announcements, there's always something, is that right? Just to make sure that we know what's next, what's happening tomorrow, celebrating successes in the classroom. Maybe somebody was noted by NCAA or our conference as a player of this, player defender of the week, I don't know, offensive player of the week. Reminders, hey, tomorrow at 7 p.m. or tonight at 7:30 in the evening, we're meeting with Sue. She's one of our performance coaches. And then good luck, I don't know, probably was, I don't know, a group of athletes had probably, I don't know, exams or something. So we're just like, good luck. And then CG was one of our initial run of players that she was back maybe after sickness. Welcome back. Is that right? So we're just trying to acknowledge little things like that, like this. Non-negotiables. We're not so much about rules. We're more about guidelines. And yeah, we're not trying to run like an army here. But there's some non-negotiables when we're in the gym. We got to go after every ball. If we don't go after every ball, we have a problem. Okay. So that's a non-negotiable. That means we do push-ups, sit-ups, maybe touch 3 lines. That's one. Failure recovery. That was our focus through last 2 semesters, spring and fall with Sue. How can we fail and have like be a goldfish, that right? 3-second memory. And how we can move on. And that's easier said than to be done. That, I know that, we all played and we're coaching and it's like you sometimes linger on a point that we lost 10 minutes ago. So how can we, and they have tools and they do exercises as a group before, during, and after practice to deal with that. And in huddles, when they get together, they have certain routine that they practice. So we do that in the match as well, how to move on from how to fail and recover fast. We have X amount of seconds. So, and we practice that. And then urgency with everything we do. Water break, how you get up from the locker room or weight room or sports medicine, how you get up on the court so you can get reps. Just urgency with everything because we want to be good with our time, with their time. We want to be respectful of their time. And we want to accomplish as much as we can in whatever 2.5, 3 hours that we have every day when we play volleyball. Let's get in a lot of good reps and get out of here. Go eat, go recover, go to classroom, go rest, So those are just some general announcements right there. And then under the announcements, every week we have a few focuses. Okay, we're gonna working and we need to get better in transition offense. We're gonna continue working out of system attack. Readiness in defense. You watch volleyball right now. and it's pandemic, there's a lot of defense with one arm where you can easily play defense with two arms. Okay, when things happen fast and you just pop it up with with one arm, master of that is Grabeniko, been now for years, that right, like bum bum bum. Yeah, it's part of we're not saying those are the opportunities, but there's opportunities where you kind of make an emergency move and you can easily play with two, but they're going out with one. So that was a focus, because we're not getting that good first touch that we talked about. That first touch is everything. Is that right? So how can we get two arms when we can on that ball? And service seam clarity. So space between passers. How can we be, better at communicating prior and making sure that you commit to that team if that's your responsibility? And those focuses that you see right there, those not necessarily change weekly. We might have these same focuses up for 2 weeks. Is that right? We know what we need to get better at. So even if we go into the weekend and we underperform in one of our areas, other areas that are maybe not our priority right now, we don't freak out. We don't panic. We stick with what we know we need to work on the most, because maybe that was like an off day or whatever. But no, these are our 3 important areas that we gotta be rock stars moving forward if we want to win a lot of matches. So we're trying to be really even keel, level headed as a staff and not panic when maybe something doesn't go the way we thought it should go. No, let's stick to the course. And then, yeah, if that's kind of happening more frequently, then we got to address it and figure out and maybe put some work into that just to get on the same page. So that's a little bit of before we even get to practice, that's what our whiteboard is.
Oh, great stuff. I for sure really I like a lot the last part you just said. Like, it's not about, for example, a mistake that, to make the point, the mistake that's the often is like, we're going to have a word of the week, or we have like these are the 3 concepts of this month, and then the month passes after 4 weeks, and then you're going to have 3 or 4 new concepts, but the ones that you had last 4 weeks, they still are valid, they still should be looked at. And so it's perfect to have like these non-negotiables, for example, that like you've written them down. They are there for the entire season because they stay valid. It's not because, these are not just words, or this is not just some random stuff that we write down. We write it down because this is really the most important. And then you can, you can make a story around that, etc. But it's really senseless to make, to have these like small hope points or small milestones, small action points. And then you wipe them off the board and you write up new ones. No, the ones that you're wiping off are still there. But then everybody forgets them because they're not in plain sight. I really like that you put the emphasis on, look, these are us. This is team culture.
And the biggest, where we fail coaches, we don't reinforce that. Is that right? And if that list is super long, you cannot reinforce all these behaviors. So that's why we have only 2 and 3, and some of them probably spelled poorly. Foreigners, we don't know how to spell in English. So, you got to reinforce those. And that's the biggest thing every day. Every time it happens, you got to reinforce that, yeah, in this case, less is more, just a few, but let's be rock stars. Let's be really good reinforcing those behaviors and make sure that becomes our culture and our habit. Yeah.
Let's go to the back side of the boards.
Yes. Let's go back because if you want to talk more about the main part where it actually practices, I know how we want to go about this. Yeah. This part right here. So I always use same colors. Blue color, it's always drill time. Green is always courts or coaches assigned to that court, or managers. We have like managers that help. Red is always what's our focus in this drill. And that focus always goes with what's been our focus this week or for the last couple of weeks. Okay. So it's very, okay, let's go in and, we know exactly what's going on. So they received practice plan that I shared with you also. Evening before practice, if we train in the morning, or around noon if we train in the late afternoon. So then they see this on the paper and they know exactly where they need to go. What are we working on? And then we also send them a little clip called appetizer, where we show them 2 to 3 clips of video. They receive that on their phone, what we're going to work on. And we show video of professional men, professional women, college men, college women. We're trying to, or us, we hope to show a lot of video of us, okay, what we did well. And that's kind of preparation for practice. This we call appetizer, short, 30 to 60 seconds, and practice plan. So when they come, they know what's happening. And again, also, we're not changing practice, like format of practice, much. We change maybe how we score, cues, focuses, and that makes same drill feel very different. Is that right? So you don't want to introduce too many drills every day or at all, because it takes, you know how it is. Coach brings in new drills. It's like it takes you 2 days to figure it out. Is that right? So let's just stick with same similar drills, and we're just gonna score and bonus and give different constraints. Okay, we work a lot with constraints. We can talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, always when we come in, first chunk of our practice, when we're still somehow fresh, we call it volleyball school. And we go to 3 courts, and it's a slow reps and very focused work with a lot of feedback and maybe some video delay every now and then, where we can actually stop and discuss and demo again. And on court 1, we always have our passer, serve, receive. And we have right now, you can see OH, or outside hitter 1, 2, and 3, libero 1 and 4. Those are in the first group, and they spend there about 7.5 minutes. And then other outsides and liberos, you can have them down on court 3, and they're playing 5 versus 5, a ball control drill where you're just rotating through. You're doing basically old school volleyball where everybody gets the set when you're right back. That's your responsibility, but everybody gets to hit. So it's a ball control drill. Middles get to set. Middle needs to hit on zone 4. Middles have to hit on zone 2. Is that right? Something you always wanted as a middle. And now outside's got to hit in the middle. Is that right? So you give them all these reps. And after 7.5 minutes, they switch. And on court 2, I spend time with setters. And maybe one of the setters with me for 7.5, and the other setter is maybe doing this 5v5 ball control drill. She's part of that. Or maybe I keep both setters, depends on what I'm working on and what I want structure to be. For example, you have middle blockers. You can see middle blockers M1, 2. I guess we were sick here or banged up a little bit, so I have only 2 middles in practice. They were with setters. You can see on court 2. So they would be reading there. They would be reading the sets that our setters are making. They would be standing there and just go ball, setter, and reading the setter, and they would make a blocking move. And it's slow reps again. And there's coach that's coaching those middle blockers. Okay, maybe our focus was, as you can see, BF, blocker, focus, read, and then close it and then drop. Okay, we were working on, get to the pin, but then see that pin blocker, but the set is inside, so now I got to drop. So we were creating opportunities for them to work on that. But they're reading live sets, you know. It's the primary skill of the game is reading. No matter what position you're playing, you got to be good at reading. So we spend a lot of time teaching our blockers and defenders how to read. And even when they're working on their footwork pattern, they got to read. When they're working on their arms, they got to read. When they're working on dropping or reaching or doing whatever, they still got to read the set. They got to read the setter, they got to read the set, and they got to read the attacker. So in these schools, often our women would block live attacks. So we would have male players in practice that would, in this case, would go and hit the ball. We'd say just hit their hands, and they have to work on that part. So this is slow reps. Again, this first chunk with a lot of feedback, a lot. You know, that's it's not all the time, but there's more feedback than in other parts of practice.
Mhm.
And then we like to go under number 2 right there. Let's go do some serve receive. Okay, some progression. So on court 1, everybody's serving. We have like team divided into 3 groups. Excuse me. And on court 1, all they do, they're serving seam 1 and seam 4. So seam 1 is area between zone 1 and sideline. So we're working on hitting that space, and seam 4 is area between zone 5 and sideline. And we're asking them to alternate, go, make sure you know how to serve both seams down the line. Is that right? So don't be just a one seam or one spot server, because if I need you to hit certain seam during the match, I got to say, Jada, come over here, hit this seam because that passer is struggling. And our focus here was kind of line of attack. We want our servers to kind of show where they're going. We're absolutely okay with that with our float serve. And We got to run in line of attack. We got to place the ball, toss the ball in line of attack. And then we got to hit and finish the ball, finish to that in line of attack. So it's not like I'm running this way, but now toss is this way and my arm goes this way. That creates a lot of inconsistencies, lack of efficiency, a lot of errors, and we're not a really good serving team if that happens. So that was our focus here. While they're working on the kind of slow to fast approach, okay? That's what it says in the red box. Slow to fast. You bring a lot of momentum into your serve. That means you bring a lot of power. So you don't only have to rely on your arm, but also your approach and momentum that you bring in assists with that. And then on court 2, now we would go and serve seam 2. Seam 2 is area between zone 1 and zone 6 passer. And we would put 2 passers there. And now servers are actually live serve and passers are getting live touches. And we do that for 4 or 5 minutes. And then you rotate. So groups are rotating through now to court 3. And now they're serving seam 3. They're trying to hit seam 3 and expose our zone 6 and zone 5 passer. And they're working on that seam 3. But now we're competing. So we're going from very blocked practice where there's no competition. We're solely focused on executing the skill properly in court 1 to now let's go live, but we're not competing yet. We're still kind of let's go live, but we're working on still same stuff. And then seam 3, let's go compete while we're working in mind with same focuses. Yeah, and then we move on. And the last part right here, ball setter, ball hitter. So BSBH and then ABBA, that's all 6s. And then we spend hour plus playing a lot of 6s. So that's in general our practice. And then real quick, number 5, hit water bottles, compete. So for last 5 minutes, we like to have these unique finishes of practice, a little bit of fun on all 3 courts. We would put down water bottles, and for 5 minutes, who's going to hit more water bottles? Okay. And it's, water ball, it's not easy to hit. And it's like, oh, I hit 3, I hit 4. So it's a little bit of component at the end where you're working on your serve, but you don't really, it's not, you remember how it was like, at least teams that I played for was like, hey, we're going to serve at the end of the practice for 10 minutes. And it's like, now it's like, I'm already done. We've been here for 2.5 hours. Now I got to serve more. So how can we make that last 5 minutes more interactive where they have fun? So we're competing here with not just servers versus passes, but maybe hit the bottles, or maybe what we would do, we would choose 2 athletes and we would say, you got to hit this seam with this speed. And we would have speed gun. And if you don't, everybody else got to do a push-up. And then they keep going and we give them certain time constraint. And team is like, let's go. And they got to hit certain seam with certain speed. And if they don't, another push-up. And then it's a huge celebration of their after practice when they do that. So you're trying to reinforce all these things that we've worked through whole practice in different ways. Is that right? And then real quick at the end, we debrief right there in black. Water, we usually go, what are 2 things we did well? And what is 1 thing that we need to get better? We need to do better tomorrow. But they came up with 4. So of course, we're going to celebrate 4 things that we did well. And they do that. I ask them, hey, ladies, what's 1 thing we did well? And they say we did cover well. And then I'm like, expand, give me examples. And we talk about it. And then block touches. We were very active blockers. We got us a lot of touches, maybe not so many stuffs for point, but a lot of touches. So we got a lot of transition opportunities. Serve range. Our servers were really good at moving around, make sure that passes were uncomfortable. Maybe they dropped a short serve or a mid-range serve. Offensive range, we were not hitting just zone 6 in the middle of the block, but we were going high hands, we were going wrist away, we were tipping, we were doing all these things. And then 2 things we need to do better is just adapt. Probably here I would say adapt on certain situations when it's not by the book. Is that right? How can we adapt? And adapt better. And block touch, I know exactly what was meant here. Maybe it was something with, it looks like with the opposite attacker. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate what that was, but it was something with block. So, and that's in general how we go about practice. Let's look at the second whiteboard so you know exactly what's going on there. So this grid right here, so this whiteboard on the top right side is just, we have our positions numbered, okay? So when I'm creating practice plan, every player let's say OH is right there. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had 5 OHs last year. And those are those initials. Same for middle blockers, same for opposites, same for setters, same for liberos. And then for every drill, no matter what, not only sixes, I use those L1, L2, OH2, so they know exactly where the players go. It really helps organization-wise. So here we play this sixes drill, and you see that grid shows you like note. There's like a note. There's a little asterisk, red asterisk. We can talk about this later, but the one next to it says rotations, and we have that on both sides of this grid. And in this drill, we're going to be flipping between row 2 and 5, okay? Rows are a little bit different than what we say in Europe. So row 2 would be setter in 6, is that right?
Yeah.
And row 5 would be setter in 3. So we would go between setter in 6, setter in 3, or row 2 and row 5 for whatever, 15 minutes or whatever drill is. So we would be working on those two. And then we would move to row 1 and 4, which actually is setter in 1, setter in 4. And then we would be working row 3 and row 6. That's setter in 5 and setter in 2. And then if you look at the top line, which says row 2 and 5, is that right? And on the left side, that's team that's going to be together. We like to rotate. We like to mix a lot because mixing helps, because you got to adjust and adapt every time because there's somebody new next to you. And people get injured and people are sick and you make substitutions. So it's really important that they have that going on, that understand how to play with each other. Number two, it raises the level of competition because it's not like A and B. And I know, Matthias, you were always on A side, so you don't know how it feels to be on the B side. But we're in the B side is like for the whole season, it's like, I don't even stand a chance. So usually it's like, yeah, I'm just going to survive. No, because they mix, because we mix, and switch setters, maybe every day or whatever, you get the level of competition and buy it's like through the roof. We do that with USA national team. I'm going to be very transparent. We would mix all the time. We would like lock in A and B. The only time in 4 years that we locked A and B, it was on their request, on players' request, was I would say 2 to 3 weeks leading to Olympic Games, where it's like, hey, we need to know who's our starting lineup. We need to spend more time together. And we were like, great. But until then, we were mixing all the time because we want to see different pieces with different people and how that goes. So the top line, it describes, okay, libero 2 and 3 are going to be on that side. Opposite, actually, we move our outside 5 because opposite was banged up, one of the opposites. And then we're going to have outside 1 and 4 and middle 1 and 2 and setter 1. And then on the right-hand side, that's the other side. Is that right? And now we compete. And then we kept track of points right there. Okay, we love to keep track of points. And now you work through row 1 and 4, and there's some adjustments in lineups. Now libero 1 and 2 are on that side in row 1 and 2, in row 1 and 4. Same opposite, but we switched outsides, different middles. So, and we worked through all 6 rotations. And then that red star asterisk right there, blitz, front row outside. So what we like to do, we usually blitz liberos, blitzkrieg, the famous word of Second World War, where Germany blitzkrieged Poland in 1939 with all might. We're like, okay, in rotation 2 and 5, we're going to be serving front row outside every single time. We want pressure on our outsides while they got to go attack as well. But what servers usually avoid liberos. So when you're looking at statistics, you're like, liberos are getting 0 reps in sixes in practice time. So you know what? We're going to blitz a bro. We're going to blitz a libero in, row 3 and 6. Every serve must go to libero. That's how you give liberos some opportunities to respond. Otherwise, they get no reps. Is that right? And they love it. And it's also good because you tell your servers where to go. It's because that often they got to execute certain tactics when it comes from serving. And it wouldn't be only row 2 and 5. Maybe next day we would go, hey, now setters and opposites, you got to blitz the bro. Is that right? The rule here is like, if you hit the libero, we play. If you miss the libero, but you hit somebody else and pass is good, let play. Or let's not stop the play when pass is good. Okay, if pass is disaster and ace, and it's not a libero, yeah, redo. Let's go. And, the level where they're pretty good at hitting libero or designated target pretty hard. So this grid gives us a little bit of scoring opportunities. Bottom left, We have 3 Excel sheets right there. It's a very general statistic that we share with them. I don't talk about statistics much unless they have like super interest. They come to my office. Uh, Top left would be Friday match. Top right would be Sunday match. Bottom left would be summary of both matches together. They can see their general numbers and as a group. Okay. Um, we identified also some areas. That's Monday practice for sure. We identify some areas where we did well. There's like 6 areas where we were like we hit our standard, we hit gold medal standard or standard we need to hit to be a successful team, and needs work where maybe excuse me areas where we did not hit the markers. Um, so in creates, first ball side out, good pass, GP. I guess we passed 10%. It's deleted right there. Ball hit it was 45. We need to be at 55, but I think we still won this week in both matches. And then I don't know, OPP something. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, maybe
So
trends. I don't know. Yeah.
yeah, something opponents, perfect pair. I don't know something. So, um, yeah, I think opponents' pins like we didn't keep them. We didn't like put enough pressure on their outside attackers and opposite, so they hit too well. But I think we still won here for sure. I know. Remember this. So this is just a little bit of a breakdown of the weekend, and then yeah, we train. Mitch right there that also helps us with serve a little bit in white t-shirt. After a serve, he's gonna keep eyes on our defenders. Megan, that it's right there on the side, she's looking at our blockers. I'm paying attention to our setters blocker. Jeremiah is worrying about our offense. Is our timing correct? Are we hitting the window? Are our attackers with their shoes on the sideline on third and fourth step? So depends on what our focus is. But those are all the things that we pay attention to. Um, and that's another drill that it's a little bit slower. Um, Again, you see right there, I'm passing ball to zone 2. So we're working on middle blocker and long string. Is that right? Go. Why are we working on that? Because usually what middle blockers do, they follow the pass. And we don't want to follow the pass. We want to hold the ground, be